Sufficient for me that it is my Master who speaks. He says that. He pronounces this. He arranges the letters in such a fashion. He makes himself heard in such a manner. That is enough. I decide that all is exactly as he says. I do not see the reason, but he is the infallible truth. Therefore, all that he says, all that he does, is true. He groups his letters to form a word, and different letters again to form another word. There may be 3 only, or 6, then no more necessary, and fewer would destroy the sense. He who reads the thoughts of men is the only one who can bring these letters together and write the words. All has meaning, all has perfect sense. This line ends here because he makes it do so. Not a comma is missing, and there is no unnecessary full stop. At present I believe, but in the glory to come, when so many mysteries will be revealed, I shall see plainly what now I so little understand. Then what appears to me at present so intricate, so perplexing, so foolish, so inconsistent, so imaginary, will all be entrancing and will delight me eternally by the beauty, order, knowledge, wisdom, and the incomprehensible wonders it will all display. Abandonment to Divine Providence, Chapter 2, Section 4, The Treatment of the Divine Action. The divine action as manifested in daily events is treated by many Christians in as unworthy a manner as the Jews treated the sacred body of Jesus. The world is full of infidelity. How unworthy are its thoughts of God? It complains continually of the divine action in a way that it would not dare to use towards the lowest workman about his trade. It would reduce God to act only within the limits and following the rules of its feeble reason. It presumes to imagine it can improve upon his acts. These are nothing but complaints and murmurings. We are surprised at the treatment endured by Jesus Christ at the hands of the Jews. But, O divine love, adorable will, infallible truth, in what way are you treated? Can the divine will ever be inopportune? Can it be mistaken? But there is in this business of mine, I require such a thing. The necessary helps have been taken from me. That man thwarts all my good works. Is it not most unreasonable? This illness comes on just when my health is most necessary to me. To all this, there is but one answer, that the will of God is the only thing necessary. Therefore, what it does not grant must be useless. My good souls, nothing is wanting to you. If you only knew what these events really are, that you call misfortunes, accidents, and disappointments, and in which you can see nothing but what is irrelevant or unreasonable, you would lie deeply ashamed and excuse yourselves of the complainings as of blasphemies. But you never think of them as being the will of God, and his adorable will is blasphemed by his own children who refuse to acknowledge it. When you were on earth, O my Jesus, the Jews treated you as a demoniac and called you a Samaritan. And now, although it is acknowledged that you live and work through all the centuries of time, how is your adorable will received? That will worthy of all benediction and praise forever. Has one moment passed from the creation to the present time, and will one moment pass even to the day of judgment, in which the holy name of God will not deserve praise, that name which fits all the ages and everything which takes place in the ages, that name by which everything is sanctified? What? Can the will of God do me harm? Shall I fear or fly from the will of God? And where shall I find anything better if I dread the divine action in my regard or regret the effect of his divine will? We ought to listen attentively to the words uttered in the depths of our heart at every moment. If our sense and reason do not understand nor enter into the truth and goodness of these words, is it not because they are incapable of appreciating divine truths? Ought I to wonder that my reason is bewildered by divine mysteries? When God speaks, it is a mystery, and therefore a death blow to my senses and reason, for it is the nature of mysteries to compel the sacrifice of both. Mystery makes the soul live by faith. For all the rest there is nothing but contradiction. The divine action, by one and the same stroke, kills and gives life. The more one feels the death to the senses and reason, the more convinced should one become that it gives life to the soul. The more obscure the mystery to us, the more light it contains in itself. This is why a simple soul will discover a more divine meaning in that which has the least appearance of having any. The life of faith is a continual struggle against the senses. Chapter 2, Section 7, The Hidden Works of Divine Love. The divine love is communicated to us through every creature under veils, like the Eucharistic species. What great truths are hidden even from Christians who imagine themselves most enlightened? How many are there amongst them who understand that every cross, every action, every attraction according to the designs of God, give God to us in a way that nothing can better explain than a comparison with the most august mystery? Nevertheless, there is nothing more certain. Does not reason as well as faith reveal to us the real presence of divine love in all creatures and in all the events of life, and as indubitably as the words of Jesus Christ and of the Church reveal the real presence of the sacred flesh of our Savior under the Eucharistic species? Do we not know that by all creatures and by every event the divine love desires to unite us to himself? That he has ordained, arranged, or permitted everything about us, everything that happens to us with a view to this union? This is the ultimate object of all his designs, to attain which he makes use of the worst of his creatures as well as the best, and of the most distressing events as well as those which are most pleasant and agreeable. Our communion with him is even more meritorious when it means that serve to make it closer or repugnant to nature. If this be true, every moment of our lives may be a kind of communion with the divine love, and this communion of every moment may produce as much fruit in our souls as that which we receive in the communion of the body and blood of the Son of God. This latter, it is true, is efficacious sacramentally, which the former cannot be, but on the other hand, how much more frequently can it not be renewed, and what great increase of merit it can acquire by the more perfect dispositions with which it may be accomplished. Consequently, how true it is that the more holy the life, the more mysterious it becomes by its apparent simplicity and littleness. O great feast! O perpetual festival! God given and received under all that is most feeble, foolish, and worthless upon the earth. God chooses that which nature abhors, and human prudence rejects. Of these he makes mysteries, sacraments of love, and by that which seems as if it would do most harm to souls, he gives himself to them as often and as much as they desire to possess him. Chapter 2, Section 8, Experimental Science. That which is sent us at the present moment is the most useful, because it is intended especially for us. We can only be well instructed by the words which God utters expressly for us. No one becomes learned in the science of God, either by the reading of books or by the inquisitive investigation of history. The science that is acquired by such means is vain and confused, producing much pride. That which instructs us is what happens from one moment to another, producing in us that experimental science which Jesus Christ himself willed to acquire before instructing others. In fact, this was the only science in which he could grow, according to the expression of the Holy Gospel, because being God, there was no degree of speculative science which he did not possess. Therefore, if this experimental science was useful to the Word incarnate himself, to us it is absolutely necessary if we wish to touch the hearts of those whom God sends to us. It is impossible perfectly to understand anything that experience has not taught us, by suffering or by action. This is the school of the Holy Spirit, who in this way speaks life-giving words to the soul, and those which he speaks to us through others come from the same source. Reading and seeing become fruitful and possess virtue and light only by the acquisition of this divine science. Otherwise they are like dough to which leaven is necessary and the salt of experience to season it. And since without this salt we have only vague ideas to act upon, we are like visionaries who, through knowing the roads that lead to all the towns, yet lose their way going to their own house. We must listen to God from moment to moment to become learned in the theology of virtue, which is entirely practical and experimental. Do not attend, therefore, to what is said to others, but listen to that which is said to you and for you. There will be enough to exercise your faith, because this interior language of God exercises, purifies, and increases it by its very obscurity. Chapter 2, Section 9. The will of God in the present moment is the source of sanctity. Oh, all you who thirst, learn that you have not far to go to find the fountain of living waters. It flows quite close to you in the present moment, and therefore hasten to find it. Why, with the fountain so near, do you tire yourselves with running about after every little rill? These only increase your thirst by giving only a few drops, whereas the source is inexhaustible. If you desire to think, to write, and to speak like the prophets, the apostles, and the saints, you must give yourself up, as they did, to the inspirations of God. Oh, unknown love! It seems as if your wonders were finished and nothing remained but to copy your ancient works and to quote your past discourses. And no one sees that your inexhaustible activity is a source of new thoughts, of fresh sufferings and further actions, of new patriarchs, apostles, prophets, and saints, who have no need to copy the lives and writings of the others, but only to live in perpetual abandonment to your secret operations. We hear of nothing on all sides but the first centuries, the time of the saints. What a strange way of talking! Is not all time a succession of the effects of the divine operation, working at every instant, filling, sanctifying, and supernaturalizing them all? Has there ever been an ancient method of abandonment to this operation, which is now out of season? Have the saints of the first ages any other secret than that of becoming from moment to moment whatever the divine power willed to make them? And will this power cease to pour forth its glory on the souls which abandon themselves to it without reserve? O love eternal, adorable, ever fruitful, and ever marvelous, may the divine operation of my God be my book, my doctrine, my science. In it are my thoughts, my words, my actions, and my sufferings. Not by consulting your former works shall I become what you would have me to be, but by receiving you in everything. By that ancient road, the only royal road, the road of our fathers, shall I be enlightened, and shall speak as they spoke. It is thus that I would imitate them all, quote them all, copy them all. Abandonment to Divine Providence, Chapter 2, Section 10. God makes known His will through creatures. In the present moment are made manifest the name of God and the coming of His kingdom. The present moment is the ambassador of God to declare His mandates. The heart listens and pronounces its fiat. Thus the soul advances by all these things and flows out from its center to its goal. It never stops but sails with every wind. Any and every direction leads equally to the shore of infinity. Everything is a help to it, and is, without exception, an instrument of sanctity. The one thing necessary can always be found for it in the present moment. It is no longer a choice between prayer and silence, seclusion and society, reading and writing, meditation and cessation of thought, flight from and seeking after spiritual consolations, abundance and dearth, feebleness and health, life and death, but it is all that each moment presents by the will of God. In this is despoilment, abnegation, renunciation of all things created, either in reality or affectively, in order to retain nothing of self or for self, to be in all things submissive to the will of God, and to please Him, making it our sole satisfaction to sustain the present moment, as though there were nothing else to hope for in the world. If all that happens to a soul, abandoned to God, is all that is necessary for it, then we can understand that nothing can be wanting to it, and that it should never pity itself, for this would be a one of faith and living according to reason and the senses, which are never satisfied, as they cannot perceive the sufficiency of grace possessed by the soul.